I had a few requests to show the multi-slinging configuration that you may have noticed in a couple of the recent videos. We're inside, it's not a great situation, but if you pay attention and look closely you should be able to follow. I'll do my best to move the camera. It's balancing on a light stand at the moment. That's just the way it is sometimes. I can't go outside right now. So yeah, this is it. Imagine this is the this is the rigging line. It's been held by the rhino down there. He's the ground worker, and the rigging point is up top in the tree. And this is my end, the climber's end. So all I did was set several friction hitches in a prusik configuration. I threaded it through 3 times. I think on one of the jobs I had 6 of them set. Takes a few minutes to set them. And then a carabiner connected to a sling, a choker sling. Once they're on the line, I just left them on the whole time. So I was able to selectively choose whichever limbs, or however many, up to 6, that I wanted to, or that was practical. Here I've just got 3 set up. The good thing about it is that you can set the friction hitches anywhere along the length of the rigging line, so it can span quite a great distance. And when you you want to choke a limb that you're going to cut off, you only remove the yellow sling. Imagine this is the branch we're going to cut, and then you just snap it back on, and then you tighten. Obviously the ground worker tightens the line down here when you're ready to cut, but you can kind of set your own tension as well by adjusting the prusik loops. I use prusik loops because they will snag in either direction. So staying with the working end of the line, the climber's end, remember the ground worker's end is down there, who's controlling the descent. On this end you might want, as we did, you might want another ground worker on this end actually steering and pulling the load in a given direction. So if your rigging line is long enough, it might be that you don't need to add an extra tag line to the end. It might be because these hitches don't have to be set right at the very end of the line. You can leave like a massive tail for the ground worker down at the landing, down at the chipper, wherever, to control or pull the loads in a given direction. Or if you need 2 lines, you can just attach it to the end. With so many slings at hand as well, and the high rigging point and the tie-off point at the bottom, it's always worth bearing in mind that at any point during the tree removal, during the rigging operation, you can always abandon the lowering technique but use the same setup to turn it into a zip line. Let's say there's a load of limbs on this part of the tree that could easily be zipped down more efficiently than lowered. Then you can tie off the rigging line at the bottom of the tree and just turn it into a zip line. This isn't exclusive to this configuration by any means, but what I'm saying is because you've set up the system to to lower down branches with the high point, it doesn't mean you're exclusively sort of limited to that through the whole job. You can easily use the same system to set up a zip line and then swap back, you know, whatever. The system also lends itself very well to balancing long horizontal limbs. Something you may have to do if you have a critical load close to a wire or a building structure of some sort, and it's in your best interest to balance the wire on 2 points as opposed to one in the middle where it might seesaw either way. So if you look carefully, it's actually really quick to set up, but it's not so quick when you just have a little stick that I'm demonstrating with. So it's the two bottom slings that are attached to either end of the limb. This part in the middle is redundant really, it doesn't do anything. So the line comes down from that direction, goes back up. These hitches are set on either side of the dip. It might not be such a dip if it's a big long limb. And then back up to the highest friction hitch at the top. This is the end of the rigging line, or it might not be, it might just be a bite in the middle if you're using this setup midline. This could be going back to the ground worker to steer the load. So just look at that carefully. It's really simple once you do it yourself, but I don't know how clear it is. And with 3 points of adjustment, it's obviously, rather than tying knots and stuff, it's really easy to adjust to set it exactly how you want it. So more commonly, multi-slinging incorporates the use of these rigging plates, of which there are many available, many different sizes, shapes, brands. Some have a capacity to hold lots of different carabiners, but they have a limited reach. You know, they're limited to however long the sling is and however far the sling can reach and choke around a limb from the distance between the plate and the limb. So if all we had was 2 of these slings, we could only capture limbs that were a few feet apart. But with the Brusick configuration, forget this, that we've been looking at, we really don't have any limitations, because we can slide the hitches around however length of line we want. We could, you know, capture limbs that are within a span of 20 feet if we want to, and lower them all in one go. So these are popular as well for zip lines or controlled speed lines, whatever you want to call them. You know, you have a sling hanging off the bottom, the carabiner and pulley here goes over the zip line, control line on the back maybe, and a whole back line, whatever you call it, so it goes back and forth to the climber, down to the landing. But I've personally had greater success with again using the friction hitches and one of these X rigging rings. Whole back line goes to here, this carabiner at the back, and you hang again friction hitch and endless loop on this strand here. This, you know, you put as many as you want on, you might only want one on, The reason why I said I've had better success with this is because when you're using a whole back line, more often than not, at some point they do get a little bit tangled, the whole back line and the zip line, you know, and the branch can go over the top. So when you're using a pulley, this isn't a pulley, when you're using one, a pulley has to hang perfectly on the line. If it somehow gets twisted and goes upside down, it's going to come to a halt. With the rigging rings, they don't really have an up or down. So if somehow the whole line or the control line and the zip line get tangled, the load goes over the top, it still kind of finds its way, it still slips down. So obviously you need to choose the appropriate hardware, and you know, your hitch cords need to be, you need to know what the rating is on them. They have to be a good match for the rigging line that you're using. This is not a rigging line, this is an old climbing line. You have to know what the limits are, at what point they're going to start slipping. On this line and this hitch cord here, I would think thread it through 3 times from tests I've done in the past. You know, probably 1,200 pounds, I would say. I wouldn't load it to that, but after 1,200 pounds it might start slipping a little bit. On a thicker line, obviously it wouldn't. So thinner line is a better match for the rigging rope because it's going to bite, but you have to know the working load limit of the thinner friction cord. The thinner you go, obviously the weaker it's going to be, but you've got the option of doubling up as well. So there's nothing wrong with these either, but and this is the sort of stuff you're going to see at a trade show, not really sell like this, because this is what they want to sell you. Just remember that all that glitters isn't gold. I suppose the message here is that there are a lot of simple solutions to what we think might be complex problems, and they are often right under our noses, in, you know, gear that we probably already own, but we kind of that used to using them for only one application. So it often just takes, you know, some imagination and experimentation and practice, and not always to believe everything that we get fed. You must have this, you must have that, you must do it this way or that way, that word must, you know, says who. So anyway, I hope this has been useful. Thanks for watching.